Today on The Dead Life, we welcome Diane Goldner, world-renowned healer, Dead University's professor of healing. She was a journalist who started investigating energy healing for an investigative journalistic story. Diane came in feeling skeptical, and then she became a convert who gave up her path in journalism to become an extraordinary healer who loves helping couples with infertility issues. To book a reading with me, email us at booking@AllisonDuBois.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Medium Allison, or you can watch me on YouTube to see new and past episodes of The Dead Life. Please like and subscribe. If you have a life question for me and Sophia for my Love Me, Love Me Not segment, leave your question at 802-332-3811. Don't forget to pick up a bottle of my Divination 22 Money Potion Vodka or Love Potion at One Handsome Bastard in Old Town Scottsdale to set your intentions for 2025. So, Diane, welcome back.
It's great to be here.
Oh, it's always great to have you. I'm sorry that it's taken this long for us to reconnect. What a year, huh?
It's what a year. The timing is always perfect. So this is perfect. Yeah.
That was a year of transformation, and people think of the word transformation as, oh, yay, we see the good things. It's going to get us where we need to go. But it's much like childbirth. It's ugly and painful. And that's why 2024 was a year that made us look deep and actually get people out of your life. That process started in the 8 year of 2024, expelling people from your life that don't serve your purpose any longer. We're going into a 9 year, a year of endings, which will end things the way they've been in the last 9 years. And then even before that, because Pluto went into Aquarius, but that's a whole other subject. So going into 2025, many people are looking to heal scars from their childhood. Can you use light work to heal emotional wounds?
Oh my God, for sure. In fact, I would say that almost all physical issues really start on other levels, the emotional level being one. So you can have, years go by and then all of a sudden you wonder why you don't feel well, but it's emotions that have been, you don't even realize what the emotions are. They're kind of, locked up in your energy field, and an energy healing will start releasing them. And as your emotions flow, you will feel better, your relationships get better. And
do you do that through like visualization techniques, or
how
does that work in healing?
When I'm doing a healing, it really works with, me going, into somebody's energy field. It's literally like we begin vibrating. I can really feel what a person is experiencing, maybe on a deeper level than they're conscious of. What's coming to my mind is a man who had lost the hearing in one ear and they had just found a shadow in the other ear, and so they were concerned. It was a tumor in the first ear, and they were concerned he was getting a tumor in the second ear.
Yeah, that would be a concern.
Yeah, it would be a concern because then you're totally deaf.
Yes.
So he wasn't the kind of guy. He was a hard-charging executive. I tend to see more of those than maybe some healers who did not believe in healing. But a friend of him said, "What do you have to lose?" Right?
Right.
You're hearing.
Well, and you come from that background as well. Like,
And
you
I
didn't
come
know
from
what
that
to make of
background,
it.
so I think that's reassuring to people.
Yeah.
And I speak that language, so that's also reassuring. So anyway, when I started doing the healing, I saw him as a child. Since we're talking about childhood wounds, that's why I'm bringing this one up. I saw him as a child. He had been a long distance swimmer. And I saw him swimming in the ocean and so happy because all the sound is muffled when you're swimming in the ocean, in any water, right? You don't really hear what else is going on. And so I asked, what was it he didn't want to hear? And it was his father yelling at him. So this is how these emotions that get stuck in our body can really have a long-term effect.
They
So I
manifest.
released all of that. I told him what I had seen and what I did, and he just looked at me in complete shock. He's like, "Oh my God, you've just described my whole childhood." So very often what I'm really working on, even when I'm working on a physical issue, is emotions or beliefs or thoughts that are no longer serving the person.
It's so interesting to see the different methods of healing that can be used, and almost everything goes back to our childhood. And it's more incentive for parents to really work with their kids in childhood because it sets the tone for a lot of people's lives.
It does, but the thing is, most people are just human,
Yeah,
and so they've come with their own childhood wounds, and it
right.
goes from generation to generation, and unless you say the buck stops here, and
Karmic
even,
patterns that you have to
yeah,
break your
yeah,
karma.
family
Right.
patterns, and they're tough,
Yeah.
and everyone has them. So one of the things that helps break these patterns is a lot of times we turn around and then we're angry that our parents had these patterns,
Hmm.
that, the father was an alcoholic or, the parents didn't get along, whatever it was. And, that anger is a binding force to the same energies that you want to heal from. So
Hmm.
the best thing, and I've had clients where I've told them they should do a practice of gratitude, and they're like, I'm not going to do that. But truly, it is very healing. And I'm concerned, just heal yourself and it's going to heal you.
Right.
You don't have to worry whether it's healing somebody else. I'm not suggesting it to heal somebody else, but literally, if you think internally, not at a party or at the
Right.
family
Right.
Thanksgiving,
Time and place.
but internally, in a little meditation, you just go in, close your eyes, and you start thanking somebody for the very thing that is causing you so much pain. And it is magical, maybe not at once, but eventually you'll see that there's some kind of gift for you.
Hmm.
And
And
take it.
because a lot of our wounds make us who we are in life, the adversity.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, although at the end of the day, we're better off without those wounds.
Right. I find what helps me is going in, recognizing there's little Allison, the child that I was, that's still part of me. There were it's on a soul level, they're still part of us. And I became the mother that I didn't have. And I find that a lot of people heal those wounds through becoming the person that they wished had been there for them, for their own children.
Absolutely. First of all, you can do it for your own inner child.
Hmm.
If your
It's
inner child,
healing. It
it's
works.
so healing. I mean, we all have different parts. So you become the mother
Right.
to your inner child and you comfort that
Hmm.
inner child. You let them know you love them and that everything is safe. And that's extremely healing. But also, what you said, when you become a parent, it is so healing to give your child, the love that, an experience that you felt you didn't have.
In my own personal situation, I find a lot of people have something similar. There's a karmic pattern in my family of the women relying on men, which is why I was so ambitious and motivated, to make my own money and to teach my girls that they could make their own money. But also taking my girls to the fair, taking them out of school and eating funnel cake and going on rides and playing as many games as they wanted to was also healing the inner child in me because I was providing it for them, but also for myself in being like allowing myself to be a child that I wasn't always allowed to be in my childhood. So you can do those things as well.
I kind of joke, but it's true. I have a young son, and I always say I'm having the boyhood I never had.
I'm sure he's very lucky. You take him everywhere. That is so
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, it's
So
fun.
So it's funny when I interview someone else who is psychic or dialed in or in living in the ethereal because I notice my questions will go in line to whatever maybe you had wanted to talk to or you start talking about something I had wanted to talk about. So like my second question is, what kind of issues do your clients come to you looking to heal? And you literally just gave an example of a man who used to swim long distance as a child. I love that. I love that. So with the healing that we do with emotional wounds, we collect emotional wounds. I think a lot of people collected them in 2024 in various ways. It was a hard year, which 8 years are there to challenge us. Can you use these methods to sort of heal that within you? Because we have a lot of crime right now. We're seeing a lot of what becomes controversial that in another day and time wouldn't have been controversial. And where you grapple with that with social media, because, you know, for instance, the man that killed the healthcare CEO, you know, people are online saying he's so sexy, you know, I want to date you. And I'm like, who raised these people? Yeah, seriously. Like, I get being mad at the insurance companies or the healthcare industry. At the same time, this is somebody's husband and father. And where's your humanity for them? Because
Well,
they
this
didn't
is
do
a
anything.
very complicated issue. Of course, I mean, murder's not the answer.
Right.
I mean, there's just no place or time. I
Right.
mean,
We don't just get to kill people. We're in a civilized society. That's what that is supposed to be
exactly.
for.
But I mean, I have so much to say about this. I mean, first of all, I mean, it's brought up, I think so many people are frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's brought that to the surface. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when this first happened, I just thought to myself, I mean, I do have compassion for him because you know, he's suffering so much physically that his mind is probably of, you know, when you're in so much pain, it's just, you just want to die basically. And so I think that's the place where he was. And so he turned that out. But, you know, I just thought to myself, oh my God, I wish he had called me or some other healer because the pain that he's in could have been ameliorated, helped. Maybe.
I think he might have gone down a psychological rabbit hole because they interviewed an old roommate of his who was in a book club with him and said, hey, let's read a book on the Unabomber. Okay, weird suggestion, but okay. And so that's what it seemed to take, some psychosis that this man had, and send him down that path. This is just my interpretation of my sense of what happened, but it seemed to send him down that path and gave him an idea that allowed him to have some sort of a target in mind to take out his pain, anger, frustration, but also mental health issues on this poor man that was literally shot in the back.
I know. I mean, you know, I mean, there's so much to say about
Yeah.
this. First of all, you know, you do get a vibrational experience when you read a text. That's why if you read, you know, I'm not suggesting you read the Bible, but if you read the Bible, you know, it is uplifting compared to reading the Unabomber, right?
Right. Yeah. Very true.
And, you know, so,
Because I think a lot of people are empaths and don't realize it, and they'll go into the person's story and they start feeling that person's impulses and identifying with it and maybe even relating to it. So
yeah, it happens all the time. You know, you read, you know, whatever books you read, that's what you start focusing on.
right.
So,
You
yeah.
become part of the story. Yeah, it's
Well, yeah, so he
interesting.
went down that. But, you know, he also, I go back to the physical pain he was in because I think we can't understand how,
Because he had a back injury or surgery on his back, he may have been on oxycodone or
yeah.
medication of some sort.
I suspect that his lawyers will maybe even use you know an insanity plea.
That has a very low percentage of success of
Yeah.
actually
Okay.
working,
You would
but
know better.
I think it's somewhere around 2%
Really.
that actually succeed with that defense. So it's rare to get an outcome there. I feel for the man who committed the act in the sense that, and Tom and I have run charts on serial killers and people who
Oh,
do negative
yeah.
things, and you can see the markers that were there in their birth chart when they were born, but
Oh,
then mental health issues, or they just chose the easy path
Did
Those
you
are choices when it's choosing a path of what
did
to
you and
do.
Tom look at his chart?
I'll have Tom look at his
Yeah.
chart. We just did the Menendez brothers. He looked at their charts, and which was very eye opening. But there's two different real paths you can take in life. One's constructive, one's destructive. And when they become destructive, they destroy those around them. And that's what this young man did. So even if they're able to show that he was inhibited by the medication because of the planning that went into this actual crime, malice aforethought that happened.
Absolutely.
It getting out of what he did is extremely unlikely, and he's going to be on a very ugly path for a very long time. Maybe they'll end up figuring out what's wrong with him, but I do think there's some mental health issues where the brain or whatever's going on in there, wires are crossed, or it continues to deteriorate and it never gets better with time. So, I feel sorry for his soul that it was born into maybe a sick body or a body that was sort of
Yeah.
defective. However, we all make choices, and just because somebody ticks me off, I don't get to blow them away on the
No, I
street.
mean, nobody would recommend that.
Right,
I'm
right.
curious, have you been able to tap into the CEO who passed
You
in
know,
this terrible way?
I could, honestly. I
You
mean,
have,
I
yeah,
could. Normally, I don't do readings unless it's for a
yeah,
family member because I
or-
need that energy to connect me, like triangulate the
yeah,
messages from them. But I'm sure just from the 25 years I've been doing this professionally, I'm positive that his time is being spent around his living family right now, his wife, his children, being worried about them, trying to let them know that he's here, that he's not gone, which is so frustrating for them when they're talking to you constantly and you can't hear them, and they know why, but they try and work through your friends and your family in dreams or in messages to get that, to convey that to you so that you don't hurt as much. Their whole intention is to try and ease our pain. He wouldn't be worried about himself. He'd be
yeah.
very much worried about them and
He's
people.
okay,
He'd
right?
be okay,
He's okay.
absolutely. He would have crossed. It seemed like he crossed pretty instantly in the passing, and often they don't even know, especially with like a gunshot that delivers that blow to you, the death blow. They do know immediately when they're on the other side because they're looking at their body. So they're
Yeah,
aware that
yeah.
something happened, but he wouldn't have known why the man did that to him. So
Uh,
it's very sad to see that, then somebody appears from the other side or that was waiting for him, that's a relative that knew he was going to die, and they would have explained to him what happened. And when we're in the ethereal, we're sort of all knowing in a sense of understanding, and we're on high definition on a soul level. And he would have probably thought, what a sad reason to take my life. Like he lost his life in that moment. And as far as he knew, everything was great. Now the holidays will be terrible for his family forever, for the rest of their lives. It will remind them of what was
oh,
happening. And
yeah,
people get in this fight with the man,
yeah,
capitalism or the
yeah,
healthcare industry, and they focus their energy there without having any resolution of their own. They're not
yeah.
helpful.
The other point I want to make about this, which isn't about the CEO or anything like that, is,
Mm-hmm.
in my experience, of some of these kinds of health issues that people have that are very chronic and
Mm-hmm.
very challenging,
Sure.
it is hard to get complete relief from the equipment Western medicine has.
True.
And that's something that I hope will eventually get addressed because, the energy treatments do alleviate pain in a different way than taking a drug, which doesn't, it just masks it, but it doesn't alleviate it.
So, would a person that is in, say, chronic pain, we'll use that as an example,
Yeah.
would they be able to, say, read your book and start implementing some of the methods that you teach in being able to self heal?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really complicated thing. I think that it's really important to do your own healing work because you're with yourself nobody's with you as much as you're with yourself,
True.
right? You're
Nobody
with
knows your body
yourself.
as well. Right. Yeah.
Um, and on the other hand, I think some of these things are so deep that it is helpful to have help.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just hard to do a very deep healing journey completely. I don't know anyone who does completely
Right.
by yourself.
Well,
So I think it's okay. People don't have to feel that they have to do it by themselves because,
so is it like with other forms of light work where you could do it in small groups or with other people trying to heal or have healing groups together where you do light work and practice on each other?
absolutely. I mean, what Jesus said, I'll quote the master healer here. Um,
Happy Hanukkah, by the way.
um, is, where two or more are gathered in my name, there will I be. And there is something about somebody else witnessing or being present, either in your pain or just your soul, that alone is healing.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking I just worked with a woman recently who has I forget even the name of the illness because I focus more on the energy, right?
Hmm.
And she had a spike. She has like a blood cancer, and it's chronic. And she had a spike where her platelet levels just like shot up to the point where it was like, whoa, her
Yeah.
doctors were totally freaked out. And I did a healing, and I can't even, I think I just soothed her energy and released some of the stress she was under. She was under a lot of stress from work and things like that. And within 2 weeks, the next time they tested her, platelets had dropped dramatically. I mean, she was in a
Fantastic.
complete health crisis. So, I think on her own, it probably would have been hard to accomplish that so quickly.
So there's power in numbers, like a coven in a sense, where you bring
Yeah,
together a group of people and you focus your energy together to heal. I love that.
absolutely. And then there's also, I mean, somebody, like me who, or an acupuncturist who's going to really be able to identify what
Yeah,
energies need to shift and shift them. So both are great. I
I
think the
love
more
that.
the merrier. Do everything. If you're
Everything.
do everything.
I'm a big proponent of Eastern and Western medicine and finding whatever balance works for you in your life and your health. I just ordered oregano oil capsules because my daughter has like sometimes you get like an intestinal infection, her
Yeah,
digestion's not good. And that works.
yeah,
It's not Western medicine. It's more holistic. It grows in the earth. It's something natural. And now this is a far cry away from trying to treat something that's terminal. But I'm just
right.
saying there are remedies that don't have to be invasive that can help you in your daily life. And oregano oil seems to be one of those
Oh,
really great
it's
things to
fantastic.
take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, as I say, I believe in doing everything, you
Right.
know. I mean, even the example I just gave of this woman I was working with, she went to her doctor, and that's how she knew she was in such a crisis, right? I mean, it was
Hmm.
really important to go to the doctor. And, you know, so
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different methods. People need to do their homework and then try something and see how it works for them, and maybe even keep a little log of the information and how you feel, or maybe it doesn't help you and you can rule it out as something that your body reacts well to. But people need to be more hands-on, and I think sometimes the doctors can be quick in handing over pills that have more terrible side effects than what they're actually treating in your body.
yeah, I mean, that does happen. I mean, in this case, she's on a drug, and yet
Right,
the drug wasn't sufficient at that
right,
moment, right?
right.
So that happens too. So
Which
yeah, I mean, yes,
I'm
I mean,
just
there's
always taken aback. It's like, take this for eczema, and then it'll say, but it could kill you.
yes.
It's like maybe we
Well,
could try some steroid cream and
you know,
not
there is
do
a
that.
there is a reason for that, and that is because you're suppressing, the the reason you're having whatever it is, eczema or whatever, there's underlying reasons. And when you suppress um, the manifestation, your body will often do something else because it has to express this problem one way or another.
I'm so curious with you because we're under the same umbrella, but sort of in different corners of the ethereal. Do people ever ask you, because I've been asked this a
Yeah.
couple of times, to
Yeah.
go in if there's somebody in a coma in the hospital and work on them? Do they bring you in for that
Yeah.
sort of session?
Yes, yes. In fact, yes, I've done that several times, and I've brought people out of comas. So, one of the cases that I'm thinking of right now, the parents, not the parents, the children called me. The mother was in the hospital, and she'd gone in for kidney stones. Okay, and then she developed sepsis, and then she went into a coma. I mean, it was horrific, right?
Yeah.
And the doctors had told the family that they should prepare for the fact that she was going to pass. And so they called me, and I mean, she was in a terrible state,
Sure.
and they called me and they asked if I would help. And I was actually pregnant with my son at the time. And I went into the hospital. I was like, should I really be doing this? But I went
Right.
in. I
Yeah.
know. I went in and I did a healing, and lo and behold, to my surprise, I was able to connect to her consciousness, and she wanted to come back. She was like, there was not even a shadow of a doubt for her. She was like, I want to come back.
Right.
So I worked with that, and sometimes you have to go on faith because all of
True.
the outer signs were that she was about to pass, right? But I had to convey this message that she wanted to come home. And then I did a second healing, and she came back. She woke up. She
Oh,
was back.
amazing.
It was
Well,
amazing. She had some pretty serious damage from the sepsis. Her toes had gotten blackened. Sepsis is a horrific infection.
yeah.
But she made it. She's still alive. This was 15 years ago or something.
Her
Thir-
kids
no,
got her back.
12 years ago.
Okay.
And she's living at home. She's,
Well, and just so my listeners understand, when I entered into what I do in mediumship, what do? I go to a laboratory to be studied by scientists because I want to know why I can do what I do. And so I spent 4 years doing that. My
did you
point
get?
is,
Yeah.
yeah, my point is I'm open to other areas under the ethereal umbrella, and I've been learning so much over the last 20 years about astrologers and tarot readers and healers and potion makers even. And Diane was somebody I called years ago when my friend Michelle was dying, and she was stage 4 cancer. She was in a horrible place. She had days, maybe days to live. Michelle had shrunk so much from her chemotherapy and everything she went through, and she was the sweetest soul who had 2 little girls. So my Hail Mary was Diane. I called Diane and said, could you please see if it'll help? Like, I was open to it. I think people should give everything a shot and be open to the opportunity to have it be successful. Maybe it's not, but maybe it does.
Maybe
And
it
we
is.
have to,
Yeah.
right. And
I,
you bought her pushed it into remission for 4 years. She got 4 more years with her beautiful little girls, and I know that meant everything to the family and her husband, Steve. So I've actually seen it when everything was tried, and healer Diane here was brought in and sort of worked with Michelle's energy, who I'm sure didn't want to go because she was a mother, and being a mother was everything to her.
yeah, when I went to see her, I have to say she was so sick. I thought, oh my God, she has maybe a week left.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, I always hold open the possibilities, but I thought to myself, oh my God,
Yeah.
I don't know how much I can do here.
She did
Um,
not look well. I mean, she was she
It
was
was
in
in
a
her
bad
bones, and she
state.
had
Yeah.
no, her spirit was mostly gone. But, the
Yes.
interesting thing was she didn't want to leave, but her parents had recently left, and she was so devastated by that.
Mm,
And I was able to show her that her children needed her,
yeah.
and that is what brought her back.
Well, we were just very grateful, and I believe in light work, and so for those of you that are out there that want to try learning it, Diane teaches in many forums of healing, including Dead University. And have you written a couple of books? How many
I've
books do you have?
written three, I'm working on a fourth right now, but I've written three books. And the first one, How People Heal, has a lot about the science, because I
Hmm.
was an investigative reporter looking at that.
Yes.
The second one, Awakening to the Light, is my personal experience, how I went from being a journalist
Hmm.
to a healer, which was quite wonderful and traumatic.
Lawyer medium, come on. I got it. I
I
get
know.
it.
And the third one is, case studies and different meditations and ways you can look at what's going on with you to help unravel whatever energy is causing you not to feel well. And the next,
So for
yeah.
self-healing, what book would you recommend?
I would recommend, that's a really good question. I'd recommend Yes, You Can Heal. Um,
And that's
but then,
available at Amazon and
yeah, it's
different.
available at Amazon. That's the best way to get it.
Okay.
And the first book, How People Heal, if you really don't believe in it and you want to know how it's working, you could read
Hmm.
that.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
And I love that you have a focus of something that you really enjoy in healing, which is infertility in couples. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about that is it's joyful, right?
Hmm.
Um,
And you
and
used it on yourself. You
I
scared every
used it on
woman
myself.
over 45. Oh my gosh. I'm like,
Well,
no.
this is one of those examples. I did have help, there's nothing wrong with, doing IVF or whatever you need to do if you really
Right.
want to have a baby.
Yes.
So it's not one or the other. But even so, sometimes you need a little magic,
Okay, it
little
was still
sprinkle.
extraordinary. I don't even care if you got some Western help there. How old were you when you had your
Oh, I
son?
never tell anyone.
Oh, I tell everyone. I'm so
My son
sorry.
is four.
I didn't know it
It
was a
was a secret.
secret.
But I consider myself the patron saint of older moms. But I have helped younger women too. I mean, women in their 20s have trouble too sometimes. And,
Yes.
uh, you know, and
Young women seem to have more problems now than I've ever seen in our lifetime as far as fertility issues. And it's disturbing. I hope they get to the bottom of that because it's unnatural, actually.
it is unnatural. I mean, the people that I worked with, I can tell you what they're, I mean, one of them, which, might go to the point of the unnatural. I mean,
Hmm.
this was a long, long time ago. It was the daughter of one of my regular clients at the time. And she'd gotten married, and all of her friends were starting to have babies, and she wasn't getting pregnant. And she was really upset about it. So I did a healing. And I cannot make this stuff up. It was really, in her case, she came from a very well-to-do family, and she'd spent all her life up to that point making sure she didn't get pregnant, right?
Hmm.
Panic that if she got pregnant, the world would
Hmm.
fall apart for her.
Right.
And so her body had that message that she shouldn't get pregnant. So I know that sounds crazy. So I unwound that.
No, it makes sense to me. I get that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And even so, she was so panicked. I knew she was going to get pregnant. But they went ahead and they did IVF. Of course, they were pregnant almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then she had a little problem with the embryo. It wasn't shaped properly. So
Mm.
I did a healing on that too. I didn't know what was, I don't always know what's going to happen when I do a healing.
Right.
But I worked on it, and it reverted to the doctor said the pregnancy would be fine, but
Hmm.
the embryo became normal again, completely normal.
Fantastic.
So
I
that
mean,
was
that's amazing. That really
yeah.
is amazing. And I know there's a lot of studies done on light work and cellular data, like as far as how the cells change with the different techniques used. And I think it's amazing. I think people need to find out more about you. I really feel like children should be meditating in classrooms, on the daily, to focus their well-being and center themselves. And they've tried this in other countries, and the kids flourish. Can we get it together, America?
We'll
Let's get
never,
some
we'll
of that
never,
going.
we'll never get that together. But I agree with you so much. I mean, whenever I teach, I taught a class on intuition. I mean, did anyone ever teach you about intuition, or the fact that you had an
Certain
ability?
movies that I watched as a child, like, not really, but in the 70s when I was really little, they had a lot of um, unsolved mysteries and psychic activity, and people's head hooked up like on Ghostbusters to depicting a psychic test, which I ended up doing, which is hilarious because I
Yeah.
loved that part of Ghostbusters, and then I end up in the lab being studied like a lab rat. So
Yeah.
those are no, but not in the classroom. It was actually the opposite. We were taught more keep your hands to yourself, which is still a good rule.
Yeah.
Listen to the teacher, respect your elders, eat your lunch, eat all of it, for eat your fruit and veggies, just like stuff like that, but nothing having to do with energy ever.
Or even your intuition or your inner self.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
most important thing isn't
But
even
but
addressed.
every adult we knew said I have a gut feeling or my instinct is. I mean, it was already in our society that we knew that there were adults that believed in that, or they'd say, "Oh, it's my sixth sense," or
I
this is what
didn't
I'm
come
getting.
from such a lucky background.
Well, my grandma knew when people were going to die, so I grew up
You
with
so
her.
you were
Also,
lucky.
I had some law enforcement and military in the family, and they very much believe on hunches and gut feelings, and going with that instinct that they get. So I guess in that sense, I was able to relate to
Yeah,
that.
you were lucky. But I think, it's a major, I mean, I agree with you. Something should be taught in school.
Yes,
That's
absolutely. So, where can people find more information on you? And do you have any workshops
Yeah,
coming up?
well, I do. Well, they can find me at dianegoldner.com or Diane at dianegoldner.com to make it
Mhm.
easy.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't have it listed yet, but I'm going to be teaching another Zoom workshop. I think the next one is going to be on healing yourself and your relationships. And because that's one that, along with many other things, is like almost everybody has something there.
Your timing on that's fortuitous because the 8 year was starting the process of ending relationships that no longer serve you, which is why you're seeing all the divorces and breakups, and getting friends out of your life that you've outgrown and that no longer serve you. You're on different energy levels. The 9 year is going to bring that
Yeah.
furiously. It's going to be
Okay.
fascinating. So I'm sure your class will be full of people.
I'll probably have that up in about 2 weeks.
So is it going to be about healing relationships that are worth saving? Do you have a
It's
distinction of
gonna
if it
be, well, I think sometimes you don't know until you
okay.
do the inner work,
So
right?
do
I
you
mean,
talk to them about that?
yeah,
If it stands
yeah.
out that it's not a positive relationship in their life that maybe you need to heal through that?
I definitely do. You have to be very gentle with people because if they're not ready to do that, and I've been there,
Yeah. Yeah.
you, then you get afraid.
Right.
And so
Well, a
really,
lot of people, I wrote a long time ago, life doesn't stand for live in fear every day. And that's because I feel most people in the world live in fear every day about, especially in the US, what if I, don't have this? What if I don't have that? And you know, what if nobody loves me? What if nobody likes me? What if I don't get follows? What if nobody likes my social media content?
Yeah.
It's like, stop worrying about everything. Do what you do and roll the dice on life. Just
Well, and
enjoy it.
this is the thing. It's not just about healing your relationships. It's really your relationships are a way for you to heal yourself.
Right. Right.
And when I say relationships, it could even be your relationship to something at work, not just people at work, but your whole,
Right.
relationship is almost anything you're relating to, right?
Right.
Although it is also very much your romantic relationships or family
I
relationships.
deal with a lot of clients where I have to point out to them that they've been stuck in a cycle of picking the same guy over and over again and expecting a different result, which we all know what that is. And trying to break them of that. I'm like, if you're remotely attracted to someone, walk away. I'm like,
It's
maybe, right?
very hard to change, but I mean, that was one of, when I started doing my healing work, I had to look at that. I was like,
Yeah.
what do all these relationships have in common? And the
There's a
answer was
pattern.
me.
We see patterns. I grew up
Yeah,
with a I grew up with a mom that was married 4 or 5 times by the time I was 18. So I saw the gamut of
yeah,
divorce and relationship dynamics. I was either going to be a prosecutor or a divorce attorney. Anyways, I interned in homicide. We know how that worked
yeah.
out. So I actually paid attention to those relationships and the energy of the men that my mom chose. And I chose somebody completely the opposite of anyone she was ever with. And so I did learn something from her in that respect.
But you are like I want to say almost the exception to be able to do that. A lot of people don't have the consciousness to see it clearly.
I was a strange kid for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, strange and talented and wonderful.
It worked out. It worked out. So, well, thank you for talking to me today and talking to my listeners and enlightening them. I know they're going to want to know all about you and sign up for your classes, as I believe some of the DU students signed up
It
for
was
your course, and
fantastic. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about that either. I'm very proud of them. Thank you to my listeners for tuning in. Tune in next week for a fresh episode of The Dead Life. I'm Allison DuBois. This is The Dead Life. To all of my believers out there, don't stop believing. That was awesome.